In the most recent episode of the Clone Wars, we learn about Maul's plan to defeat Sidious by robbing him of his prized soon-to-be apprentice Anakin Skywalker. But what would have happened if this would have played out? And what would have happened if Palpatine's ploy ultimately failed? Now, for this theory, we're basically going to be saying that Ahsoka and the Night Owl's plea for the Republic intervention on Mandalore comes slightly earlier. This prompts Anakin and Obi-Wan to answer, as by this stage, Grievous has not yet attacked Coruscant and kidnapped Palpatine. So, Maul says that his plan was to kill Obi-Wan, and possibly kill or turn Anakin against Palpatine, when they were on Mandalore. However, this doesn't happen in our own timeline, because obviously Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't go, they were too busy dealing with the kidnapping on Coruscant. So, for this rethink, we're going to be saying that now we have Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, the Night Owls, both the 501st and the 212th, gearing up to attack Mandalore, and that's straight up going to apply very, very differently to how it did in our own timeline. The Shadow Collective will not have stood a chance against the sheer number of Republic forces, and eventually Maul will have got the duel that he wanted against his nemesis Kenobi, but this will not have gone as he had planned. Maul's victory over any three of these Jedi in a one-on-one is questionable. However, with all three of them, I think that there's no way he could have possibly had a victory here. So Maul loses and Mandalore is liberated and put under the control of Bo-Katan and her Night Owls. However, even though Maul is now captured by the Jedi, he can still gain one victory over his ex-master. Now, if he would actually tell them is up for debate, because he may just want the Jedi to be dead, and he may just let Sidious's plan go as it was intended, because he knows that ultimately the Jedi are going to be killed by it. It sort of depends if he wants revenge on Sidious, or sort of a revenge from the grave on Kenobi more. But I think realistically, in the interest of saving his own skin, he would probably tell them to spite his own master, and avoid being returned to Coruscant and basically put under the jurisdiction of his ex-master, who would have undoubtedly killed him. Now, interestingly, at this point, Palpatine's kidnapping will have happened, and all of the Republic forces will be called back to Coruscant. For this theory, we're going to be saying that Anakin and Obi-Wan both believe Maul, and they're going to contact the Council and explain what they've learnt about Palpatine. Again, saying that Anakin would believe Maul over his old friend Palpatine is difficult to say. But with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka's guidance, it's quite possible that he would stick to the Jedi path. Now, without Obi-Wan and Anakin on Coruscant, it's very likely that Grievous and Dooku would manage to escape with Palpatine, and he would then be held hostage by the CIS. And this completely throws a spanner into the works for Palpatine's plan. Now, this is where things kind of get convoluted, and I think I've put together an idea that sort of works, but there's really no procedure for what would happen in a situation like this. It's likely Maul would be brought back before the Senate to testify against his old master, explaining the plot. Now, I think that realistically, the Jedi are going to believe him, as they already have suspicions about Palpatine. However, the Senate is a different story. After all, Palpatine was well liked, and why would they believe this criminal over their beloved leader? So I can imagine this turning into a bit of a competition as to who could rescue Palpatine first. If the Jedi found him, then they would confront and likely kill him. However, if Republic forces found him, or if the Republic managed to come to an agreement regarding his release with the CIS, he would be free to go and then would almost straight away initiate Order 66, which would basically play out the same way as it did in our timeline, only Anakin would also likely be killed. However, for the fun of the theory, I think that realistically, the Jedi probably stand the better chance at tracking him down first. They know at the end of the day, if Palpatine is able to regain power over the Republic, their days are numbered. So they're going to find out where the Separatists are hiding Palpatine, and they would strike out to stop this before the Republic could. And this would be amazing. Imagine the Jedi's assault on Geonosis' arena, but on a far larger scale. The entirety of the Order against Dooku, Grievous, and Palpatine, not to mention thousands of droids. It really would be a battle for the ages. Now, this would likely end with a Jedi victory, simply due to the overwhelming numbers of the Jedi at this point. They would really be throwing every single one of their available Knights and Masters at this. As well as this, once Republic forces realised what was going on, then they would also be obligated to help. And although Dooku, Sidious, and Grievous are some of the finest warriors in the entire galaxy, if you had the entirety almost of the Jedi Council, as well as hundreds of knights, I don't see them winning that battle. In one fell swoop, you could potentially get the entire Sith Order and CIS High Command ending the war, and ultimately ending Palpatine's plots once and for all. Now, there is obviously going to be a lot of political fallout from this, and trust between the Jedi and the Senate is going to be shaky for the foreseeable future, because at the end of the day, there's still going to be a lot of people out there thinking that Sidious was actually still a good guy, and the Jedi executed him for no good reason. As well as this, you've got to think about the fallout even if they do believe the Jedi. What are they going to do with the army at this point? Essentially, the Republic is now home to a military force of sleeper agents. Ultimately, I think it would be very interesting if Maul's plan would have worked. I believe his defeat was inevitable on Mandalore. However, his knowledge, if given to the right Jedi, could have toppled both the Sith and the CIS. But unfortunately, he was too late in putting his plan into action. But what do you guys think? Because I'm genuinely very curious. I think I've put together an okay sort of theory here, but I really want to know some other ideas. So what do you guys think would happen? Would Maul tell the Jedi of his old master's plots? And how do you think the Senate would react? Do you think that they would support the Jedi, or do you think that they would work against them to free their old friend? And how do you think Sidious would act in all this? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I really do hope you enjoyed. If so, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to tick the bell and follow me on Twitter at @TheLoreGuy for regular updates. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching, I really do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.